Happy 7-Eleven day. Good morning. Oh, there's something in my eye. Something about her eye surgery. She's giving me something. Always feels like something's in her eye. Good morning, everybody. Hello. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. My name is Patience. I'm your favorite spirit medium, host of Spirit News on all major platforms. We're here gathering the components for the newest episode of Spirit News, episode 20, Spirit and Identity. We're diving into certain stories of crossover people that can give relevant information for how spirit views identity. So we can understand how it all works, so we can find alignment, so we can be happy, so we can find joy, so we can actually become the master manifestors that we came here to be. And I'm so happy to be here sharing the knowledge with you as we unfold it with spirit. Okay? So we're talking to somebody, I don't know if you know her. I didn't know her until I heard of her passing, unfortunately. I'm not super into body modifications, but I know people are, and I know it's a big thing in our culture and in our society to be extreme modification enthusiasts. So we wanted to ask Mary Magdalene. Her real name is Denise Yvonne Jarvis Gongora, and she went by Mary Magdalene. There's not a ton of information on her personal life. She's an influencer who did extreme body modifications. We're not an expert in psychology. We're not an expert in plastic surgery. We're not even an expert in her. Okay, we're just here to let her speak and tell her truth, and whatever comes out, comes out. Okay, I can't control it. Okay, so she was 33 when she passed. She was a 33-year-old Mexican-Canadian social media influencer and model, widely known for her extreme body modifications and dramatic cosmetic surgeries. She tragically passed on December 9th, 2025. It doesn't have her birthday, so I'm not sure when her birthday was. She was born in around 1992. Good morning, Robin. Hello. How's your arm doing? I hope it's doing well. Sending you heals, 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 heals. They send you the heals and the feels. We love you. So she passed after falling from the 9th floor of a high-rise apartment building in Patong, a beach town on Phuket Island. I don't know if I said that right. In Thailand. Local police launched an investigation into the circumstances surrounding her death, which was essentially, it was investigated to be a suicide. Apparently. But there was something weird that I read, because it said in the investigation they found that she took her flip-flops off before going onto the balcony, which I feel like is kind of opposite, because wouldn't you put your flip-flops on to go to the balcony? So I don't know, that was just a weird detail that I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. I would put them on to go to the balcony. So I thought that was weird. I also found an article on from the Inquirer that says, and this was posted December 19th, 2025, so this was a couple weeks after her death. Surgery addicted star seen drunk being carried into Thailand hotel before falling to her death. And I was looking at her So basically she was, I'm sorry, let me finish my thought. I'm sorry. She was said to have been recorded um, being placed in a large vegetable cart and transported by police to the hotel where she was staying. And the video recorded in November, she passed November 9th, shows multiple men lifting the 33-year-old into the cart before it cuts to her being walked directly into her hotel room. At one point, she seems to call the people helping her amazing, and in another part of the video, she says, "I'm actually drunk," before collapsing onto the bed. Okay? So there's lots of things that we have to take into account when it comes to this. For one, she's in a foreign country, 11-1 on the chat. She's drunk in the middle of a foreign country. We have to take into consideration being drugged. Was she alone? Like, where was her people? Did her people leave her? Did she have anyone with her? She apparently was alone. Which brings up more questions. And then I watched her interview with Mark Laita on White Underbelly, and she had a lot of self-deprecation talk. A lot of like, I'm a piece of shit, and oh, thank you so much, Braxton. She would call herself a piece of shit a lot. She would say, when Mark would ask her questions about her surgery, she does this nervous kind of laugh where she says Mary Magdalene is just a character she plays. That's not who she really is. But see, the thing that I was getting intuitively is, what's the line? How do you differentiate who you actually are and who you pretend to be to the world if who you pretend to be to the world is most of the time? How do you navigate that? I don't know. I'm not a psychologist, but what I do know is that spiritually it affects your soul, because not to say that her soul didn't want to experience that, but at the same time, if her soul wanted to experience that, then why did she exhibit signs of unhappiness? We're as we learn how to be in alignment electromagnetically, we're starting to discover that appearances are, can be false. Just because we say that we're happy doing something that we've committed ourselves to doesn't mean that we are. And I'm getting nauseous. I do want to say that whatever comes out, I can't control what comes out. I'm getting nauseous. I don't know if someone in here is making me nauseous, or if it's her energy. I'm not sure. I didn't feel this way before when I tapped into her, but what I do want to say beforehand is you can be fragmented as a soul and have confusion about who you are and where you want to go, and have confusion about being accepted, and also exhibit. You can be good and bad at the same time is basically what I want to say. And I want to say that because not everybody is good all the time, especially when you're exhibiting signs of depression, and you're so fragmented that it's hard to know what thoughts are yours and what thoughts are something else. Okay, and what we're discovering from these readings is that there's a whole other spiritual component going on that we're not taught about, that can alter the way we operate and show up. And without this knowledge, you could show up like Mary Magdalene and believe full-heartedly that this is what you want and this is what you believe in and this is makes you happy, but we have to look at the signs of if that's actually true or if that's just what we're telling ourselves. And so I'm really excited to talk to her to understand from her point of view this phenomenon that is occurring in our society with the plastic surgeries and the body modifications. You know, Spirit always says, um, Spirit always says, you can jump on the train tracks and try to stop a train going 100 miles an hour, but it doesn't mean you should, you know? And so that's kind of like the energy I'm getting from her, you know, pushing the boundaries and the limitations of something because you can, because the principle in your mind makes you a passive passenger. You know, you're doing it, like, are you doing it because it makes you happy, or are you doing it because you get money off of it and modeling gigs and stuff like that, you know? So we'll see. Okay, I don't know. I don't want to ever say that something's not possible, because um, maybe there are people out there that are truly happy modifying their bodies in this way, and we don't want to place our we don't want to project what we believe onto anyone. We want them to have, you know, we don't want to limit anyone's choices or some, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't want to, just because I wouldn't do it doesn't mean there's not someone out there that doesn't actually enjoy doing it and that's what they're passionate about. Okay, but we'll see if that was true for her, or if it was just an archontic attachment or a false belief system. I don't know. Okay. Okay. I do have a song. Denise, please. You know, when she talks about Mary Magdalene being her persona, I really got that she was kind of, oh, I feel like, oh my gosh, I have this energy. A wrongful death. A wrongful death, thank you. I just have this energy of like 2010s, thank you. Of just being uncomfortable in my body right now. And I know, like, I don't feel that way normally. In my body I feel fine, so this is like a new feeling for me. I just want to keep like touching my hair and like fixing my face, and I just feel this weird need to like be like this, and it's very different than me. That's her. So something about the way she perceives herself and being uncomfortable in her body. Okay. Okay. Let's start off with a question. Denise, thank you so much for being with us. With any archangel that would like to participate or volunteer, I invite you into my space for protection with Denise. She doesn't want me to call her Mary Magdalene. So, but I keep oh, hello, Marie. Yes, the energies are a little off-putting. Strength, ego. You hurt me, but that's okay, I guess. Interesting. I accidentally pulled those. 9, 8, and 9. Action, mastery, accomplishment, fruition, attainment, and fulfillment. You hurt me, but that's okay, I guess. Yeah, so there's something that this body modification or being uncomfortable in my body, in her body, could have started with someone hurting her. It could have started with that. Alright. Oh, let me tell you the song I got. I laughed when she put it on. I was like, okay. I put on the DJ on Spotify to do a random song, and the song she chose is "Bad Girls" by MIA. I can't play too much, but it says, "Live fast, die young. Bad girls do it well." I was like, dang, girl. Live fast, die young. Bad girls do it well. My chain hits my chest when I'm banging on the dashboard. My chain hits my chest when I'm banging on the radio. Get back, get down. Pull me closer if you think you can hang. And that's funny because when she says that, it reminds me of a couple things. First off, I don't know how I can say this without being long winded, so I'm going to try my best. But pull me closer if you think you can hang. Oh, excuse me. Someone's getting up my throat. Shakalaka. Bad girl is not bad, just expressive. Well, I think, it kind of reminds me of borderline personality disorder. And I'm not a psychologist. I'm not saying she had that, but I used to have a friend, and she was diagnosed with this disorder. And one of the things she would do, and one of the things that Yvonne, or I'm sorry, Denise, I'm sorry, I'm not good at names. She doesn't want me to call her Mary Magdalene. The friend would express to me when she'd get in arguments with her husband, because they'd be so extreme, she would pick fights with him for him to show how much he loved her. So if there were ever a time where she was feeling like she wasn't getting enough attention, or he wasn't showing up the way he needed her to feel loved, she would pick a fight with him, but the fight would be so extreme and so blown out, and she would do it on purpose because she wanted to see if how loyal that person was, and what they would what they would do to show how much they wanted to be with her. But you see, that is in itself a sign of mental distress, because if you have to push people's boundaries, and you have to manipulate them in that way for them to show you that they love you, that in itself is the disorder, where you have to cause drama or chaos to see how someone will react to feel like you're loved. And so, pull me closer if you think you can hang. And then in the interview she was doing, she was going through all her family members, and she was saying the fake ones, the ones who are fake, and then the ones who she knows has her back, who she knows would ride or die for her. And it makes me wonder, well, how do you know, like, what occurred to make you feel confident in that? Narcissist, quality codependent. I hope this person healed. I hope so too. Hello, nice to meet you, and God bless, honestly. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Yes, absolutely. And so that's what I feel like her energy is kind of: hands up, hands tied. Don't go screaming if I blow you with a bang. So, are you gonna go? Are you gonna run screaming like the rest of the people 3-3 in the chat, like people normally do when I when I show them my shadow side, when I show them my shadow version of myself? Are you gonna go run and hide? Hands up, hands tied. Don't go screaming if I blow you with a bang. Sookie, sookie, I'm coming in the Cherokee gasoline. So that makes me feel like she could be explosive sometimes, Is it strength or is it ego? And that's under 8, action, mastery, and accomplishment. And that goes back, like, how much can I modify my body? How much will you support the direction I want to go in my life if you don't support me? Like, if you say, I'm worried about you because you keep getting more extreme modifications, then that means you don't love me because you're not supporting my decisions. But you hurt me, but that's okay, I guess. But then you cause chaos and drama because of, so it's kind of like a catch-22. It's like expecting people to look the other way at toxic behavior or toxic patterns, something like that. Okay. Um, there's steam on the window screen. Take it, take it. Yeah. You can't take it, then go. You have a problem with it. This is who I am. This comes to the identity thing. When you accept, if this is who you want to be, and you're pretending to accept this about yourself, you will push away people, places, and things that make you question of what you did was the right decision. You know, maybe they're bringing up my body again. That will make me have to think about if this is a spectacle or if this is who I am. You know, is this actually who I am, or is this who I'm pretending to be? So, I'll, that's one part. When I get to where I'm going, I'm gonna have you trembling. And that just goes to like, I'm gonna show you, you don't want to support where I'm going. This is who I am, and this makes my living, and you don't want to support me. Well, when I get to where I'm going, I'm gonna have you trembling. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna go harder. I'm gonna get more. I'm gonna, and there was a progression of being more extreme. I was looking at her social media, just joining, not sure what spirit you're channeling. Mary Magdalene had epilepsy cured by Jesus, became his best follower. Well, she called herself Mary Magdalene as her influencer name, but her real name's Denise. She's a extreme body modification model. And, and she, over time, I was looking at her social media, it was very extreme the way she went, it was like this progression of getting like worse and worse in my opinion. She started with boob job, and then she got her butt implants, and then she got her lips done, and then she got her nose done, and then she had tattoos everywhere, but the day she passed, she had most of her tattoos blacked out. So most of her tattoos were blacked out, but before, 1980s, I saw a lot of her tattoos before they were blacked out, and she had like, some demons on her, and she had some questionable pieces on her body, which brings up another question: is your body affected by tattoo choices energetically? I think so. And I think your tattoo choices can give you a glimpse into your mental state and where you're at when you choose to get the tattoo. Okay? So there's something about her going harder to show people, I'm going to show you that live fast, die young, bad girls do it well. My chain hits my chest when I'm banging on the dashboard. So it just repeats itself, but that was the song she gave me. Jealous over someone else. Jealous over someone else. Achiever. Going not to bitch, I'll see it for a million. Accelerating fast, I can do this in a second. Looking in the rear view, swagging, going swell. Leaving boys behind because it's legal just to kill. Shift gear, automatic, damned if I do. Who's gonna stop me when I'm coming through? Yeah, shift gear, automatic, damned if I do. She's like, I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. So there's also something about her in acceptance. Do one thing you've been avoiding. Do one thing you've been avoiding. Wild card. Okay. She said achiever. She's like, I was an overachiever. Just skin her soul purified as she chose the light. This is why we try not to judge book by cover. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what I was saying, like, I think we have to, I think we have to be careful about assuming that because someone looks a particular way means that they're not a good person, you know? Because this is somebody who may have made many mistakes, but it doesn't mean that she was inherently a bad person. But I think because of what she did to herself, she may have been very rejected by that, yeah. The flowers around the skull and stuff. So it's like, what if do one thing you've been avoiding under I am, vitality, purpose, life force, consciousness. So there may have been something that, and it could have had to do with someone who hurt her, something that she didn't address, somebody that hurt her, that made her view herself differently. She avoided it. She painted flowers around it. She put flowers around something that was slowly killing her, that was the death of her. 3-3 in the chat. Okay? Okay. One day I will. And who was the first person who saw something in you, and what did they see? One day I will what? My anxiety is chronic, but this ass is iconic. I cannot make it up. Oh my gosh, that is too funny. Come through, Denise. One day I will. My anxiety is chronic, but this ass is iconic. That's hilarious. So she's saying she did everything but address the thing that under I feel in the moon. Yeah. Under emotions, instincts, security, habits, feminine energy, receptivity. One day I will. My anxiety is chronic, but this ass is iconic. So she's saying she did everything but address the one thing that perpetuated this belief system in her, possibly by a person. You hurt me, but that's okay, I guess. And I have a feeling it was her father. Something about a father. He may have, she did allude in her interview that her father was fake, one of the fakest people. I sat next to a man with face and neck tattoos, turned out sweet soul, just went through rough lessons. He came through hate when we hugged goodbye. He smelled so nice and I felt great energies. I care. Absolutely, yeah. You just can't judge a book by its cover. But she's saying, that instead of addressing things that may have caused her to put her looks ahead of her mental state. My anxiety is chronic, but this ass is iconic,
Henry.
Pouring energy into her physical body instead of vibe, she said vibe, instead of addressing the hurt she had. And that's why I have strength, ego, question mark, question mark. Is this giving me strength, or is this something I'm ignoring? That's a great question, because often, we say, yeah, this is who I am, and I love who I am, and I love being this way. And do you? Do you actually? If you have chronic anxiety, then something you're doing, that's how your body tells you. Anxiety is, and depression is how your body's telling you, something needs to change, or you have to look at something. So, who was the first person who saw something in you, and what did they see? This is going to be under I think. Everything you can imagine is real. I always get this out of this whole bag. This whole bag, this is the one that always comes out for these readings. And it always leads to something, what was it that I just read? I don't know if I can find it, but this, everything you can imagine is real. Under I think. So, something about expression. Something about, I don't know, can you clarify that? Who's the first person who saw something in you and what did they see? You are so beautiful. What do you need me? Why do you need me? So there may have been somebody that, oh, there may have been somebody that was very accepting of the way she was showing up to for herself. Somebody that wasn't Hattie, somebody that was encouraging her. Gloria. Someone who she thought saw her. Or this could also do with, oh, I gotcha. She's starting to talk about the way people saw her. You know, everything you can imagine is real. It's like that weird contradiction, you know, in her interview. She kept saying, they're fake, and this person's fake, and that person's fake, and Mary Magdalene is just a fake persona. That's not who I really am. But at the same time, you have fake lips, fake boobs, fake butt, fake, you know, there's lots of things about you that are not your true appearance, and yet you need acceptance from people and you categorize them as fake or real, you know. So it's like this weird disconnect of, I'm not saying that she, you know, is a fake person because she has plastic surgery, but you have to see the disconnect here. If you believe that this is who you are and you everything about you is fake, that could be something she was projecting onto other people. That could be accept. Yeah, that people couldn't accept her the way she was showing up. They would run from her because everything you can imagine is real. And so there's not a lot of people who are going to accept people this way because it's so different from what they know. And there's something about it, about her not being able to it was hard for her to be accepted in the way she wanted to be accepted. So that's why she named herself Mary Magdalene, because she thought that she thought that if she named herself that she thought that if she named herself that, people would see the good in her, because her persona was not matching her true identity, the way that her personality was, you know. But she was forming her outside appearance to fit a persona that she thought was bringing her attention and love. But when she's, you know, there's something about her being out in public and like people staring at her and women pulling their cameras out and videotaping her, and, you know, a lot of unacceptance by the public. You're so beautiful, why do you need me? Yeah, and people leaving her, you know. But it goes back to that borderline personality disorder, you know, when you don't feel like you're enough for people to stay, you will push the boundaries of them to see how much they will stay. It's a borderline personality disorder, so there's something about that. Okay, what else? Let go of one thing you don't need anymore. Let go of one thing you don't need anymore. What's something that what's something you should have let go of?
Gloria is jealous.
Hmm.
No, it's not.
Interesting. Look at this. You guys give me some insights for how you feel as well. She's radiating a light. She has old colonial clothes on, which make me. She's very covered up, which is the opposite of what she portrayed. And she has this all-seeing eye in her hands, but the eye, she's covering the eye with her two fingers. Hmm.
Trapped in darkness.
Trapped in darkness.
Every year.
Hmm. Letting go of one thing you don't need anymore. And there's a ring on her hand for marriage. Hmm. Mary Magdalene. So there's something about her wanting to be accepted on her own terms, but everyone expecting her to, you know, cover up, wear more clothes. Um, that's the contradiction, though. You know, it's like Mary Magdalene, we know is a saint, right? So we don't expect Mary Magdalene to be like half naked and twerking and, you know, being having an OnlyFans, being very sexual. You know, so there's something about let go of one thing you don't need anymore. There's something about her wanting to let go of needing to be accepted like she's Mary Magdalene. You know, she's recognizing but ignoring the fact that people look at her as an object, as a sexual object. That's the anxiety. She doesn't know where it's coming from. But there's a reason why she has to show up this way, and it has to do with a hurt from the past. Somebody who hurt her. Okay? So there's a reason why she's putting so much effort into her body and the way she looks. It's because there's something within her, or somebody placed it there, that she's, you know, they took her innocence, essentially. They took her innocence and possibly didn't give her attention unless, you know, she behaved in a particular way. Okay? And that could have to do with, you know, modesty and the energy of Mary Magdalene. That could be why she named herself that.
Rude.
She wants to be
Yeah.
she wants to be accepted like Mary Magdalene, but she's showing up in a way that is opposite of that. Does that make sense? Okay. What would your younger self be relieved about? What would your younger self be relieved about? Mushrooms. What would your younger self be relieved about? Excuse me. You know, in Mario, they eat the mushrooms and they give certain mushrooms give certain abilities. Ability. Changing. What would your younger self be relieved about? Something about that she didn't have to change. She never had to change to be accepted. She didn't have to be this way to gain acceptance. That's just a false belief she had. She thought she had to change herself or make herself appear a different way to be accepted. Thank you, Spirit. What are you trying to tell yourself? What are you trying to tell yourself? What was she telling herself? What were you telling yourself? What were you telling yourself? Live music, that she was living, that this is what she wanted to do. This is my life. I love my life, and this is exactly what I want to be doing. And you know, I don't think that was true. I don't think that was completely true. What was your first insecurity? What was your first insecurity? Her body, her face. Something about being uncomfortable in her body, not accepting herself the way she was, not feeling enough. Why? A moth. A moth. A moth to a flame. A metamorphosis. A change. This was upside down. Something hidden, something secret. The moon is on her forehead. Everything will be okay. Sexual abuse. I saw that. The thing that she couldn't, the thing that she ignored that brought her to this place was someone hurt her as a child, and she never addressed it. And the person who did it to her never, a vampire. Yeah. Did she accept herself after body modifications? Well, according to this, according to what she's saying, she truly believed that she thought she was doing what her life purpose was. But the thing is that she wasn't following the emotional markers of chronic anxiety, of her constant depression, and certain emotional patterns that were low emotions. If your mind is telling you, yes, I'm living, this is the life I want to live, this is great, okay, but you have anxiety and you have chronic depression and you have these things, that's your soul telling you through your mind and your body, there's something wrong here. You know, you keep telling yourself in your mind that this is the way you want to live, but your emotions are telling you different, and you're pushing people away because you can't, subconsciously, she needs to be accepted on the outside of herself because she can't accept herself, so she pushes people away. Okay, but she tells herself, this is the way I want to live. I'm happy this way. But she's not happy. She has chronic anxiety. When she goes out in public, she has anxiety. She feels like people are staring at her, judging her, things like that. Well, I can definitely tell you 100% that she was sexually abused, possibly by a masculine, and that's what started this. Okay, an energy vampire. But the very beginning, do one thing you've been avoiding. And the one thing she was avoiding was
the darkness of LA's.
Was confronting the darkness
safely
of what someone did to her. Okay?
Seeking the answers.
Okay. Thank you, Spirit. She didn't know how to do that. She didn't know how to address that. So she was just covering it up. You know, she got her innocence stolen. This was a creation of a fragmented soul. Okay? She's like, I'm going to show him, I'm going to show them, I'm going to show whoever hurt me that I can, become somebody. And, is that strength or is that ego? Why do you have to show the person who SA'd you as a child that you can be this, like what you created? I think that's what the mushroom turns is coming from, because she thought she had to become this new persona in order to be accepted, because she truly didn't accept herself. There's something about her not being okay in her body, and that has to do with the SA. Can you speak more about that? What is the story of your birth? When you're SA'd as a child, it can really distort the way you perceive yourself. 3-3 in the chat, 3333. As a child, if you have a parent that only pays attention to you and shows you love when they're SAing you,
right,
it makes you drown. It makes you drown in emotions, because that means the only time you can get love is when you let this person do this, and they say that it's love, and you're a child, and children are so accepting. Children will accept anything you show them because they don't know any better. And so there's something about her being affected that way physically. And so, I'm not an expert. I know from my own ritual abuse, it wasn't done in that particular way. Mine was a little different. So, what I'm getting from hers is being viewed as an object as a child by a man.
Oh no.
It presents itself and shows up like I have to look a particular way, and so I can keep getting love, and then that person grows up thinking that love is sex, and that getting attention through sex is love. Okay? But that's the trap. Venus flytrap. That's the trap. What is the story of your birth?
Marchman.
Okay, so it's
Follow your instincts.
It's a generational curse that she was born into, that she was supposed to learn lessons from. I don't think, she didn't perpetuate the curse, which is fine, and that's awesome, but she absorbed it, and it changed her, okay? She absorbed it. When have you felt like you needed to be tough? When I go, promise me you will not settle for anything less than poetry. I cannot bear the thought of you unwritten. When have you felt like you needed to be tough?
Nathan.
When she died.
Hello.
Hello, yeah, when she died. She needed to be tough. Can you tell us about your death, please? Can you tell us about your death, please? She's saying I had to be strong during my death.
Park.
Park. I have sex and I'm ready. That's horrible. So, I can't prove any of this in a court of law. This is all allegedly, and I have to say that for legal purposes. But there's something about the night she died, about sex. She may have been taken advantage of that night, and it was covered up. The article said that she was, oh, bonjour, lol. I'm wasted? Well, I think that Denise was wasted when she died, and she was 4-4 in the chat. She was found, and multiple police in Thailand had to help her to her hotel room, had to put her in a cart. You're in a foreign country by yourself, you're getting drunk or even drugged in public, you have to be carried to the hotel by multiple men that bring you up to your room. You hurt me, but that's okay, I guess. So there's something about, I don't think she killed herself, you guys. I don't think she killed herself at all. 7. Where's she from? She's Mexican Canadian. My soul needs the poetry that is hiding only in your eyes. Your eyes, the light that hides your eyes. Na na na, your eyes. I don't know. Your eyes. That's this hidden secret. 9-9. She didn't kill herself, you guys. What happened that night? What happened? You could spit in my face and I would still find a way to romanticize it. Oh my god. And look, there's a little band-aid on her heart right here. And this is under sex. Anyone. You know, I want this to bring attention to the damage that SA can do to a person. And not accepting past trauma. Okay? Because what she's saying is that
Lawrence.
she was promiscuous. She was promiscuous at times, and or people viewed her that way. I don't know. Spirit said 7. Spirit said 7. So, and I have 9 out twice. And so she's saying that that night, she could have been drinking, she could have been drugged, whatever it was. Um, she wasn't in the right mind, for one. She wasn't in the right mind. And it's tough because it's like, I don't think it's right for people to look at somebody and then based off of their appearance or the way they're showing up to assume that they're very promiscuous or that they'll sleep with anyone, or I don't think that that's fair. But that's the energy that she gets a lot because her body modifications are amplifying herself sexually. And so that's where she is admitting that she covered that up. Because in her through her experience, she's viewing love as sex or attention. She gets attention when she promotes herself sexually. And that's the problem. I think that is a problem that affects people's mental states, because when you show up that way, unfortunately, people make assumptions based off of your appearance. And I do think that that's unfair, but that's why she named herself Mary Magdalene. Because even though she was playing this very hypersexualized persona where she's wearing thongs and she's half naked and you can see her booty from the front, and it's like when you go to out in public and that is your persona and that is your brand, well, unfortunately, that's going to draw attention from people that want to accept that as your brand. Okay? I'm not saying that that should happen, and I'm not saying that it should have happened to her. No one deserves to be SA'd. But at the same time, what is the message that you're sending to people about how you feel about yourself? Okay? My anxiety is chronic, but this ass is iconic. At what is the cost of being iconic in this way? And this, it's not just it's not just Denise. It's the way that our celebrities show up. It's the way that a lot of influencers show up. They sex sells. Sex sells. And so when you have a childhood trauma of SA from an energy vampire that causes you to disrupt your metamorphosis from a butterfly to a moth. I'm not saying a moth is worse, but it's that stigma that a butterfly is more beautiful than a moth. It's the stigma. But they're both beautiful.
Historical markers.
And so when that distorts
Tobacco pipes.
the way you look at yourself, and now you believe that you only get attention when you are sexually charged, when you show your boobies, when it's like, is it actually attention that you want? Is that the attention that makes you feel loved? It's clearly not. That's the Venus flytrap for her. It's clearly not. Is this strength or is this ego? You can love yourself through acceptance of things you cannot change without having to change yourself so drastically. That's not the kind of love that you should be accepting.
Venus sound.
Okay, that's not love. The message is, I'm a blasphemous person who enjoys to get objectified. I don't think so. I don't think it's as judgmental as that. I think that it's layered. I don't think that there's one answer, I think that this is like a lot of people in society that have SA wounds.
Isabella,
Okay?
Evil Dead.
And so I think that this person did extreme things because they felt unloved. And they learned at a young age that they get love in a very specific way. And instead of addressing, why they don't feel loved unless they're getting attention sexually by men specifically, why do I need that? Why do I push people away by pushing their boundaries? Why doesn't anyone stay? Why doesn't anyone accept me the way I am? But really she's not accepting herself the way she is because she's constantly having to change her body or modify it to get attention. So it's a catch-22. I can identify I was similarly reckless at a young age. Wow, scary. Yeah, me too. Absolutely, me too. I was not sexually, I was actually like cut off sexually. I didn't want to really have that, but I did party a lot, and I would, we'd take a lot of drugs and we'd party and we'd be around party scene and stay up all hours of the night and just not take care of our bodies and we wouldn't even hang out with these people unless we were high, unless we were, partying. So it's like, why do you want to hang out with people you only get high with, for my situation. But, it's like this says, you could spit in my face and I would still find a way to romanticize it, because when you're SA'd, and you have been conditioned to accept love as sex, you go out searching for people that show you attention in this way, and that could have been this group of men. And I'm not saying that it's right or that it's her fault. I'm not saying that, but we're trying to understand how does someone get here, and what it looks like from a higher perspective. Absolutely. Oh, so what else happened that night? So she was definitely feeling a little lonely. Tell your cat I said psst, psst. Psst, psst, hey. I'm ready. Under I'm ready. 0. She did also brag that she had the fattest by Guinness World Records account to have the fattest PUSSY. Did her offenders receive retribution or gain power from their actions? I don't know. Let's see. Keep your dick beaters off my tools. Keep your dick beaters off my tools.
Stranger.
Stranger.
Unpleasant odors.
Mm-hmm. It's so sad. Fortunately, she may have been inebriated to an extent where she didn't know what was going on. She could have fought back a little bit, but she likes the attention. She likes the attention. The attention that her lips give her, that her body gives her, that her boobs give her. When unhealed men look at her, they want to objectify her and sexualize her. And some unhealed men, not all of them, will take that as an invitation that, oh, well, they look that way and they're acting that way and they're dressed that way. Well, I guess that means they want it. Unfortunately. Okay? But, she's a contradiction because she shows up in this way. She has an OnlyFans and she makes these twerking videos and she has these big lips and big butt and all these things. But then when she goes out in public and the people treat her like an object, she gets offended. She gets offended and she gets upset and she gets irate and she gets angry and she yells at people and she internalizes the way they're treating her as disrespectful, but she's showing up in a particular way as a particular character that nobody knows her another way. They only see what they see, what she shows up as. I can identify with making body mods to control what I was judged for. It made sense that time. Yeah, exactly. That's what she says too. Is that strength or ego? And just like the song says, the song says, "Who's gonna stop me when I'm coming through? Leaving boys behind 'cause it's legal just to kill. Looking in the rear view, swagging, going swell.
Julia.
Accelerating fast, I can do this in a second.
Yes, it is.
Don't go screaming if I blow you with a bang. Pull me closer if you think you can hang." It goes to her liking the attention that it gives her, but not liking the overall outcome of what it progresses to. I like the attention that this is getting me, but I don't actually want to have sex but she views the objectification of her body and the attention she gets from it as love. But that's not love. But that's
Ouch.
but that's how she grew up. That's what she was taught.
I love you.
I love you. Okay? So, the person that hurt her as a child would come to her and say, "I'm doing this because I love you. This is how I show I love you. This is how it feels when someone loves you." But because that's such a distortion and that's not true, when the child looks into the mirror, they hate the way they look. They want to get that initial reaction. It's like when a man goes to a strip club. I've seen, I look at, when I've been to strip clubs, the thing that I would do, and maybe it's weird, but because of my fascination with human behavior, it's not that I'm looking at the women, I'm looking at the men's faces as they're looking at the women and they're interacting with them. And the thing that I find so fascinating about it is the way that men look at a sexualized woman is very like a trance almost. It's like being hypnotized, like being the men will look at the woman in awe because what they represent is a chance for sexual gratification, for a desire for pleasure, a physical desire to be met. Okay? It feels like reverse psychology or inversion to do with cause and effect and attraction. What do we do here? What a dynamic to observe the energy harvest at a strip club. Absolutely. And most of the time, men who feel, or what I've gathered, I'm not a psychologist, but what I've observed is that the more starved a man is of physical affection and love, the more hungrier they become, and so she has an OnlyFans and her Instagrams are filled with her portraying herself as a object to be to give gratification. And so you go out in public.
Isabella's talking.
It's a tough. Unconstructively, she says. It was not conducive to a healthy mind, is what she's saying. I went to one strip club. I just wanted to leave very bad. Then I felt energies and I would get sick and feel uncomfortable. Yeah, I felt uncomfortable too. I did it socially, people at the time I was friends with owned this, didn't own it, but ran a certain strip club in New York that's very popular, and I would go socially, not because I wanted, to see naked women. Even though, women are beautiful, there is also another dynamic where those women are just working. A lot of men go to the strip club and get hypnotized by the women because the women are good at making you feel nurtured, making you feel like you're the best, like you're the ultimate man. There's no other man like you, but they're working. They're actually working, and so it's not that they actually love you. It's that they're playing on they're reading the hungriness within you to need connection. Okay? It feels like reverse psychology or inversion to do with the cause and effect and attraction. What do we do here? I'm not sure. So that night, we'll definitely ask. You know what? There's definitely lots of lessons to be learned here. But she's definitely realizing that she should have do one thing you've been avoiding. She avoided looking at the wound that perpetuated this thought. But the thing is how do you, if you are indoctrinated in that thought that sex is love, how do you observe it differently? Like, how do you separate yourself from that? How do you reconcile that? How do you begin that process? I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. Let me see if I can find out. Maybe in here. That's funny. 10 body types, of which yours is one. Dragon dreams, phoenix rises. I live within the unspeakable silence by the rules of another science. Hermetically sealed the cauldron, I am patiently turning with the sky. A dragon dreams but cannot wake. The phoenix rises for his sake, and so he bathes her with his tears, while she sings love songs in his ears. I fly but never leave the ground, on a silver ship with wings of sound. Within a lotus born of earth, a universe did not take birth. And never coming, never goes, yet from this every other grows. I sit beyond the speed of light, which is a veil upon the night, hiding planets wrapped in air, transverse dimensions unaware. I live in orbs of shimmering love, where so below is as above. As within, so without. Thank you. As within, so without. As above, so below. It's electromagnetic, you guys. Your outside is going to your insides will manifest itself on the outside. And so if you are disconnected from your true north, what you truly are, that's the key. You never stop being as above, so below. You never stop being that. You're always connected to God. You're never not connected to God. And so what I'm getting from this is, she never asked, she named herself Mary Magdalene, but she never asked for God's for God's hand to understand herself. It says right here, unaware. Unaware. I fly but never leave the ground. A lotus born of earth, A universe did not take birth. So there's something about, her inability to rebirth herself, to to mm, mm, bathes with her tears, and so he bathes with her tears. Never fly but never leave the ground. Hermetically sealed. And the cauldron. Rules of another science. What do you mean by rules of another science? What do you mean by that? Oh, don't tell anyone your plans or ideas. Rules of another science. The reason why she couldn't see herself is because she was allowing other people, oh, that's that card right here. You are so beautiful. Why do you need me? And who was the first person who saw something in you, and what did they see? Hermit mode. And I have hermetically sealed. Continue making collective reads. Aww. That's really sad. So she's saying that.
Knock.
Thank you. She's saying that.
I am aware of your presence.
Thank you. She's saying that instead of sitting in silence and going into hermit mode and asking God like what the correct path is, she allowed herself to be governed or guided by her followers. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, to have followers and to have, followers who have opinions. That's fine. But there's something about her allowing her followers to dictate, what, they were kind of like accepting her this way. And so anyone who would bring up, I think this could, potentially be a problem. Are you okay? Those are the people she'd push away, and she'd bring forward the followers and stuff that would accept her in this way and who wanted to see her do more. Because these followers don't actually know her; they just know the persona. So that was her. That was where she went wrong. Is where instead of going into hermit mode and really like getting down to what was within her that was, affecting her in this way, she closed that down and just made everything about her followers. And just, I was reading a lot of comments, and a lot of people were accepting her the way she was, and that's fine and all. But if people are accepting you at your worst, and you're choosing to and you're choosing to I guess take that as encouragement to continue living this way, but you're ignoring the emotional signs of anxiety and depression. Those are
I'm here to protect you.
they're two different energies. And so she's saying,
John.
I allowed my followers who were accepting me to, and I let them make me believe that this is what I wanted. This is how I wanted to live. But really, what she was doing was perpetuating this fragmented vision of herself to show up in this way, because she's like, well, my followers love me and they accept me this way, so let me continue doing this. And then the people who actually cared about her were not accepting of this behavior because it's dangerous and it's could hurt her, and she viewed them as not having her back. Okay. Gotcha. Oh, that's understandably dangerous. She depends on satisfying the understanding of her. Yes, I went on TikTok and back real quick. Oh, okay. So 10 body types, of which yours is one. So there's a lot of followers that are unhealed as well, that are wanting to be accepted also where they're at. But there's this fine line of, accepting people where they're at, but positively expecting them into more. We should be positively expecting them into more, but then also questioning, is this actually something that makes her happy? If she really was exhibiting happiness and she wasn't exhibiting depression and anxiety and borderline personality traits and the pushing away of people, those are the things that we should have been looking at to identify that, or what she should have been looking at to identify that what she thinks is her accepting herself is actually her accepting a false belief system. Okay?
I will knock on something.
Oh, I love you too. Lots of buffering? Oh. She was well funded, but unable to stand a scientific test. If she were to be proposed a simple test by a group of scientists in the world of birth information, she would not have been qualified. She would not have been qualified to give the same information. She was greatly funded. So her fragmentation was a correlation to the validation of her social media. That is fascinating. So what we're learning is your soul can be fragmented through sexual connections and through trauma. It doesn't have to be just sexual trauma, but according to this, it says imagine the possibilities. You can also be fragmented by the way you show up on social media and the way that you're accepted, or the way you give yourself out to your followers. So if, like for her, she identifies as a extreme body modification model, and so she has followers that are in the same energy electromagnetically that want to accept this about her, that possibly have some they must, in order for them to attract each other, they would have to be exhibiting similar fragmentation to accept each other. Okay? And so that's giving pieces of yourself away. When you show up in a particular way and you're accepted that way by people who are matching that particular magnetic frequency that you're emitting, you're giving yourself a little bit away to each person that perpetuates this false belief system. Okay? And then the people who actually love you, you reject, because they're actually worried about you and they're not accepting this toxic unhealthy behavior pattern that could cause, damage. Like, they're worried about you. So it's like an accepting of people who accept you as this version of yourself. Okay? That that can fragment you, because what you're really doing is you're lying to yourself. You're lying to yourself, and the universe will give you the evidence, if that's what you're looking for to justify, you know, what you're doing, to make it okay. And it goes back to this: is it strength or is it ego? So her whole thing is, I'm going to show, that person who told me that I, wasn't enough, that the way they loved me was sexually, I'm going to show them that I can be more. But really, you just became more in the very specific way that they pigeonholed you to become a very sexualized version of yourself. Okay? Wanting to, it's the disconnection in what your soul actually wants and what your mind is choosing to perpetuate. Okay? Thank you, Denise, for sharing your energy, patience. Yes, thank you. Bad girls, what does it say? It says, live fast, die young, bad girls do it well. That's like a borderline personalities anthem. That should be their anthem. Live fast, die young. That should be their anthem, because they're constantly pushing boundaries. They're constantly searching outside of themselves. It's for people to show that they love them. Yes, Marie, thank you so much. Thank you all. Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate you. Oh. So I'm gonna look in the philosophy book to kind of end this, to get the overall message. I don't know if it'll work. Denise, please tell us what the overall message is that you are realizing now. Dialogues concerning natural religion. It is true that both fear and hope enter into religion, because both these passions at different times agitate the human mind. So her religion was the body modification. Okay, that was her religion. So it's like this thing where, thank you so much. It's like this thing where she's doing something that gets her attention, money, adoration. Oh, thank you for the gift, Robin. Love. And so that's the hope. But at the same time, it's also her fear, because she has to keep doing more and more for the acceptance of this particular group of people. Okay? But when a man is in a cheerful disposition, he is fit for business or company or entertainment of any kind, and he naturally applies himself to these things and thinks not of religion. So her brand in her business is the OnlyFans, is the sexualizing of her body, is the body modification. That's her brand. That's her religion. But it's not her religion. It's her brand, not her religion. But it says dialogues concerning natural religion. But the way that she's showing up, it is like a ritual that she's doing. She's getting so many she's getting so many body modifications because she can.
Definitely not.
But that doesn't mean she should. Okay, it doesn't mean she should, because what she's doing is she's fragmenting herself to a point of non-recognition. She can't even recognize herself. But she has to keep showing up in this way because this is the path she chose that gets her money, that gets her attention, that gets her fame, that gets her outward validation. But at the same time, this is her business, but people view her as entertainment. They don't view her as an actual person because her body is the brand. And so she feels dejected and melancholy most of the time because she is showing up in a world of terrors, in an invisible world. I'm sorry, a brood of terrors in an invisible world. So it's like online, she's getting love and adoration by people, but when she's in person, she's being judged by her brand. So she's like, it's a contradiction, like Robin says. Oh wow, of is way extra than just YouTube gram. Hello, thanks for being here. And so she plunged herself in a still deeper and plunged herself deeper into her affliction, and in this manner engraved religious opinions deep into her image. And so her name's Mary Magdalene. She's going to Thailand, where they're very religious over there, or they can be, and she names herself Mary Magdalene. And she gets a lot of slack because Mary Magdalene is the kind of the opposite of what her brand is. But she wants people to know who her personality is, which may correspond more with Mary Magdalene, but her brand and her path have been developed into this objectification of her body and her
future plans.
Her future plans, yeah. And so
Biannual.
She monopolized her future by pigeonholing herself to this particular way of being. Okay? I've never seen a live so absent of interference and trolls. Yeah, me too. Probably because it has nothing to do with Hollywood or anything, or celebrities. Only when I do celebrities or stuff like that, the trolls come. Okay, so her health, the circumstances of her health couldn't be restored in good humor to a cheerful disposition of futurity because she was ran by the extremes of triumph instead of joy. She acknowledges now that terror was the primary principle of her religion. Terror of not being considered strong to the perpetrators of SA in her past. That was her Venus flytrap of wanting to show this person that she can become more than what they believe she was good for. And that person never mentioning or talking about the injustices that were put on her and taking her innocence, but yet using that same trauma or effects of that trauma to show them I can be more. Does that make sense? Judged but inside pure, absolutely. But I will say, that's what I was saying in the beginning. Purity is not determined by how many sexual partners you've had. Purity is determined by your heart and you being a good person and wanting to do good things and be kind and have compassion. Can you also sleep with multiple people and still be a good person? Yes. Just because you have sexualized yourself and people objectify you because of your brand doesn't mean that doesn't mean you don't have a good heart. Everybody has to heal from something, and that healing or what needs to be healed manifests itself in many different ways, and we're not here to judge it. Okay? And so She admits that this was excessive. She thought what she was interpreting as joy was actually an exhaustion of her spirit. Every time she gets a procedure and showcases it, she gets a hit of adrenaline or attention, and she's viewing that as love. And so it makes her want to do more and get more, because every time she does it, her followers give her the fuel she needs to to feel like she's being strong and she's making money and she's independent. But really, emotionally, she's not in the state of mind she needs to be in to be happy. She's always in a mind state of terror and rejection. Okay? Because it's impossible to support someone who thinks they lie in such a profound, it's hard, what does it say?
Day with you.
It's impossible to support
My heritage.
someone who thinks with such profound darkness and uncertainty. So that's her, she's
Wires.
it's like she has to have the social media
Slip.
to feel validated, because everyone in her life walks away from her because she's always in a mind state of darkness and uncertainty, of not being good enough, of not being pretty enough, of not being, not being enough. Okay? And so she thinks people walk away from her because she's not enough, but people really walk away from her because she pushes them away, because they question, her actions. Are you sure you should be doing this? Are you sure you want to do this? I don't think you should be living this lifestyle, things like that. She earns street cred. Further she goes into her modifications. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yep. The opinions disjointed her out of the ordinary frame of mind and threw her into the utmost confusion. And so what I'm getting is that night, she was out. And because it goes to this, right here, anyone. Getting attention from anyone, no matter what the attention is, even if it's highly sexually charged, it doesn't matter. She absorbs that because she's so fragmented. She doesn't have, she's not producing her own energy source. And so she's energy harvesting by any means necessary, no matter who is in her vicinity giving her attention, good or bad. And so her body attracts people, places, and things that exhibit the wound that she has yet to heal yet. And so in this dynamic, she may have been drinking. If she wasn't drugged, she could have been drugged, but again, it doesn't matter, because either way, she's already out by herself drinking in a foreign country, being around people that she thought may have had her best interest at heart, like the police. But just because you're a police officer doesn't mean that you're a healed person.
Old parlor.
And so, her appearance was inviting the same energies that took advantage of her as a child. It's like, it's full circle. She didn't address it, and so it ended up coming back to her in a different way. And unfortunately, it took her life, There could have been multiple people that took her up to her room and had their way with her, and when she said, "Keep your dick beaters off my tools," she rejected them. She was like, "No, off you go, off the balcony." Good for you, Marie. Absolutely. Good for you. There's also something about drug use too in here, so. Okay. The importance of being social. I'm looking in subliminal. Okay. To enable a social connection, it requires extraordinary brain power that may explain why scientists have discovered a curious connection between brain size and social group size among mammals. To be precise, the size of a species neocortex, the most recently evolved part of the brain, as a percentage of that species' whole brain, seems to be related to the size of the social group in which members of that species hang out. Gorillas form groups of under 10, spider monkeys closer to 20, and macaws more like 40. And these numbers accurately reflect the neocortex to the whole brain ratio of each of these species. Wow. So, the typical number of animals in what are called grooming cliques. These are social alliances like the cliques our kids form in school or those adults have been known to form in the PTA. Yeah, I told you this is because of social media. The social media was stroking her ego, making her feel like what she was doing was right. Making her feel like that she was an addition to a new group of humans that she could relate to. But cognitively, they were equivalent to non-human. Stop it. Remember, I did a reading about. I feel so insensitive for arriving here now. I did. How I did. Sorry. Oh my gosh. No way, LOL. You're fine. No judgment here. But remember when we did the Holy Relics reading and it was revealed that the archons use social media and they create bots and accounts to
Virginia.
to harvest energy from people? Unethical experiments.
18.
So imagine you make a social media and this is your brand. They will purposely dump bots or non-human profiles to support the unhealthy behavior to purposely misalign the person. Wow. That's wild. So, I think what Spirit is, or what she's trying to tell us is, social media is not a source of love and validation because you don't even know who those people are. And you don't know where they're at or what they've gone through. You don't even know if they're human. They could potentially be AI generated bots to harvest your energy or to misalign you or to keep you off path, to perpetuate an unhealthy, toxic behavior pattern. Okay? I was ridiculed after sharing my miraculous experiences. I came out of a light work after 2022, and hundreds of people left my life. Well, you made the decision to change, but unfortunately, she was so hell bent on accepting this version of herself as the correct version that it took her off course. Okay, let's close it out. Thank you so much, Denise. What are the lessons that you'd like to bestow upon us? Inner strength and success. Nothing moves me from my path to the light because I have complete confidence in myself. I realize my innate qualities and abilities and know that with God I can do anything. All the power I need is within me. Absolutely. She put all of her power in the acceptance of the modification of her body instead of learning what her gifts were, what her talents were, what brings her joy, going within, going into hermit mode, asking herself, who she is. She chose to modify her outward appearance to give her validation. Success. I grow and thrive in the universe. I discover the purity of my heart and the higher wisdom that guides me toward victory. I direct my thoughts toward clarity and nurture wisdom, love, and goodness within me. I am free now and I succeed in my life. Yeah, her thoughts didn't match the growth she was looking for. You know, it goes to her interview. She was very self-deprecating. Patience Anne Heche. Lots of recent talk she was about to expose Ellen. I think I did Anne Heche already. I did do Anne Heche. You'll have to look back in the other ones. I did do Anne Heche. I forget exactly what she said. Or maybe I didn't do Anne Heche. I don't know. I'll have to check it out. Well, let me write it down so I can check it out. Anne Heche. I think I did do Anne Heche. Okay. Okay. Oh yeah, it goes back into the interview. She would say, "I'm a piece of shit." You know, she basically said I'm a piece of shit a lot, which encompasses a lot of things, I think. Okay, but we release that. I release false energy. If it ain't mine, give it back. Set it free. I release false energy. That was never her energy to begin with. And that goes to letting go of one thing you don't need anymore. She's letting go of the need to be beautiful in a very specific way. You know, she never needed to show her body to be loved. Okay? You did do Anne Heche. I was on your life. Thank you, Marie. I did. Thank you. I believe that I have the thumbnail of her. You just have to go back. I think it was like a year ago. Thank you so much, everyone, for showing up. Ooh. Throat shakalaka. Thank you so much for showing up. I'll be here tomorrow. We might have some more trolls tomorrow for who I'm going to read tomorrow. It has to do with the MK Ultra trial, so we'll see about that. I don't want to say who. I don't want it to get messed up. But I love you guys so much. Thanks for showing up. Thank you to Marie, LOL, Robin, Mr. Bad Boy. I love you guys. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.